to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. With me today, coach to other life coaches, Monique Scott. This is your Daily Dose of Happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today.
Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Well, there we go. Hello.
Hey. Well, that was fun.
That was different. Yeah, actually, in fact, the video is frozen on my screen. Let me see if I can clear it here. Okay, there we go. What the heck?
And you're back.
I'm still getting used to StreamYard. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
But welcome again to LOA Today. Unfortunately, Dan Mangena is on the road today. Can't be joining us. And Alyx is prepping for her wedding in October. She's meeting with her wedding consultant today. Which, come on, Alyx. Thursdays is the day. Come on, let's go. But I guess I can't give her too much slack. Too much flack, rather, for,
right.
Wedding, right? I mean,
right.
Yeah,
You've already got your spouse.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. I certainly don't wish her ill, and everything I know about Kenny is that he's a great guy. So,
Nice.
Yeah, good stuff. Anyway, we have a little news after our show yesterday because, as listeners will remember, we basically put out a challenge to our audience and to ourselves to play one of the little experiment games that is outlined by Pam Grout in one of her books, E Squared and E Cubed. I think it's from the E Squared book.
Yeah.
And this one's called the Abracadabra Experiment. And we, each of us, you, me, and Cindy, as well as members of our audience, came up with things that we want to manifest in 48 hours. If I remember correctly, you wanted to manifest a new paying client within 48 hours.
Yes.
I don't remember what Cindy's was. Do you remember what Cindy's was? I'm drawing a blank on that one.
Me too. Dang it.
I can't remember. Yeah.
I don't remember.
But anyway, the one that I kind of tag teamed on yours and thinking, oh, well, maybe I can get, a surprise guest to come and contact me in 48 hours to be on the show.
Yes.
Well, as soon as we got off the podcast, and of course, the next thing I do is I start putting together the recording to publish it, right? I'm working on the recording. I get it published. About an hour later, I look at my Facebook page, and there is a contact from David Strickle, the Stream of David, who is a previous co-host, has been on the show for some time, who says, it's been a while since I've been on. Would you like me to come on? We can do some streaming. We can do, some conversations with the stream because you always have great questions. And I said, I just laughed. I wrote back to myself, you are literally my manifestation.
Bam. Within
and he said,
24 hours.
He wrote back and he said, I wondered why I got that tap on the shoulder.
Well, you're ahead of us. That was me and Cindy.
I mean, that I couldn't talk about speed. Like I've talked about, and Cindy made reference to the fact that things do tend to happen quickly for me. It actually is there's not a whole lot of in between with me. It either happens really quickly or it's really slow. There's not a whole lot in the middle there, right? And this is one of the ones that came quickly. And you'll remember I also had the incident with the first time that I tried the Pam Grout approach, where I was looking for just anything to come to tell me that the law of attraction works after having worked with people on Facebook who were all freaked out about number combinations. And of course, I got a number combination on the time when I was doing the experiment. Pretty much ended the experiment that quickly. So that was pretty quick, So I'm known for quick, But that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Brenda's saying it. Yeah, she's saying someone to contact her, an old friend or client.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly
Thank you, Brenda.
Good memory. See, that's why Brenda's in the audience to remind us of these things.
Yeah. It's two of us and we couldn't remember.
I know. How about that, right?
Crazy.
Anyway, I was on a podcast today with Kathy Mason, who is a friend of Debbie G, who does the Friday show with me. She's actually they're in business together with Spirituality Going Wild. And Kathy and I were talking about LOA Today. We were talking about some of my own past history of how I got the show started and so forth. And in the course of that conversation, we had a number of people in the live stream who were sharing comments, one of whom was named, I think, Peter. And he was expressing an interest in connecting with entrepreneurs. And he wondered if we had anything on the show. I actually let him know, and I'm going to let people know here, David Strickle, because he contacted me. He is a channeler of the Stream of David. Talking to the Stream of David is just like talking to Abraham. So I'm inviting everybody, including Peter, to join us this coming Tuesday, because David's going to be on the show taking questions. And if you want to ask question, like if you were in the hot seat talking to Abraham, you can send in a question to us, or you can actually be there on the live stream. If you can be there during the live stream time that we're on the show, 4 p.m. New York time when we're live streaming, by all means do that. If you can't do that, you can still send us an email. You can use the LOA Today app to send me a message. You can send me directly to my email address. That's walt@loatoday.net. Any question you want to ask, be sure to send it in. I'll be glad to ask it of Dave. And I'm especially inviting Peter to be there because he wanted to talk to other entrepreneurs. Well, what better idea about getting, information about how to get your life going than talking to the spiritual entrepreneur, right? the best ones, right? So yeah, it's going to be good. And he also talked about having an entrepreneurs group, and I'm thinking, well, we're a podcast. We aren't really a group, although we could. We have a group actually that I can invite people to. But I'm wondering, why don't we come up with, you and me, because you work with entrepreneurs, you work with other life coaches, right? I mean, you help them get to the next level in their income desires and so forth.
Right.
So we both, and I have an entrepreneurial background. Why don't we come up with a show or a series of shows that aims at helping entrepreneurs apply the law of attraction in their lives?
Oh, that would be great because that's absolutely what I do. Well,
yeah,
sort of, kind of, because they're already versed in.
Well, this is true. I mean, yeah, you got the advanced students, right?
Right. No more babies, no more new.
No baby steps, right?
Yeah, no.
But
yeah, that would be great.
Well, why don't we do that? And I need some ideas from you too, and any live streamers who want to kick in some ideas would be great. I'm looking for, how do we turn this into something that the audience can participate in? I mean, we're doing that already with the show you and I and Cindy did yesterday. We're doing some experiments with Pam Grout. The Tuesday show, actually, with Dean McMurray, we were doing some psychic experiences and experiments, rather, and the audience was participating in those. What can we do with entrepreneurs that can be, involving the audience? Any ideas what we can do there?
Maybe some of our audience members are actually entrepreneurs. If we have, I'm sure
probably
got to be. Yeah, there's got to be.
Statistically, there has to be, right?
Right. So maybe they might have some questions about how can they use the law of attraction in their business. I mean, most people want to manifest more money, more monthly income, right? Which is what I help them do.
Sure.
But they may have some other questions around how they can use the law of attraction, what other areas in their business, maybe to gain more clients, or maybe to attract the new software that they need or want to use in their business, or maybe even a new business partner or something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, questions. That's a good way to do it. I'm looking for something where they're actually contributing and not just taking information, where they're giving information or they're sharing stuff. So,
maybe that's something that they could share too. Maybe they have some manifestation rituals or
stories,
or routines, or stories,
Yeah, that would be good.
About how they use the law of attraction in their business. That would be awesome.
Maybe we can adapt the Pam Grout approach. She does experiments, right? And she has her readers do experiments. Let's come up with and create an experiment or two that entrepreneurs can do.
I think that would be cool.
Let's orient it toward entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you and I both know what it's like to go into business for yourself. First of all, it's terrifying. And second of all, it's terrifying, And then when you get past the terrifying part, then you actually have to open the business.
Yeah, and it's still more terrifying.
And it's still terrifying, right? But assuming you actually get to that stage, or maybe you aren't even at that stage yet, maybe you need to get past the terrifying part. At some point in there, you're probably either asking or have asked and answered or gotten an answer to ideas about how do I actually apply it in my life? How do I believe, for instance, that my venture can work? How can I believe that I'm going to get clients? I mean, that's always the big fear. Where are the clients going to come from if I have a client-based business? Or where's the manufacturer going to come from if I'm going to manufacture something? Or whatever the business is, it's always like, how am I going to do this? The horrible hows, right?
Yeah, but
how is this going to happen?
What's really interesting is just for some research that I'm doing within my own business, I was talking to another spiritual business coach yesterday.
No, really?
And and she's consistently hitting 10K months, no problem. So, but I asked her, how do you get there, like around her clients, right? How do you get clients? What do? Do you run Facebook or YouTube ads, or what's your whole social media marketing? And you know what she told me, Walt?
What?
She said nothing. And I was like, what do you mean? Right? And she said, well, I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram, and I found her on Instagram, right?
Mm-hmm.
And particularly I was drawn to her because she's another African American spiritual
Oh.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
business coach, and I don't find too many of those, right?
Yeah, sure.
Too many of us.
Too
So
many of you, right?
yeah, too many of us. So she told me, she said, I just get it from spirit, and spirit just leads my
Nice.
clients to me. She said, and
Wow.
I never really think of, yeah.
There's
And she said,
trust. There's faith. Really strong.
yes, that radical belief that I talk about, right?
Right? Yeah.
And she said, I just trust that whatever I decide I want to make per month, with, of course, she's hitting 10K months, right? She's like, but I just decide whatever money I want to make that month, higher or lower. And she has no certain number, right? It's not like I
Mm-hmm.
need to hit 20K every single month, right?
Right, right.
She's like, I just believe that spirit is going to bring my clients to me. She said, and every single client that I have, almost 90, she said really 99% of them are just spirit led. And she just
Wow.
doesn't worry about it because she knows that the clients are going to come. And I thought, how amazing is that,
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
such total radical belief, right? That the universe is just going to bring you exactly what you need in your business, because that can be kind of scary, you know? We have business
Oh, yeah.
expenses as well as personal expenses, right?
Exactly.
And there's always this proverbial, oh, you need to do 10K a month, right? Everybody wants to hit the 10K a month kind of thing. But she was just like, you know what? If you just let go and you just trust God, it'll come. She said that He never fails. And I was like, wow, that's amazing.
That's
That's
really good faith.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because that person, that mindset is existing and thriving in an overall environment that is overloaded with advisors about how to get your business going and what the
Mm-hmm.
pitfalls are. And they're
Mm-hmm.
going to tell you, like, you got to make sure you have this much income on hand just in case, and you
Right.
have to worry about this, and
Mm-hmm.
fear that, and so forth. And here's somebody else coming along saying, you don't have to fear anything, just go. The
Yeah.
Lord will provide. Like, oh, there's a different message for you.
Right. But it worked for her. But
Mhm.
she was very transparent in saying,
Mm,
I have to stay connected to spirit. Like it's a necessity for my business, right? And I mean, really, it should be a necessity for all of us when you really think about it.
this is
I
true.
think I think that that's how we as spiritual beings, right? I
Hmm.
think that that's how God intended for us to have a relationship with us, just like as close as you are with your spouse, as close as I am with my daughter. There's not a day that goes by that I don't talk to my daughter. I talk to her several times a day. We talk about any and everything, right?
Hmm.
But when you stop and think about it, how many people really have that type of connectedness with
It's
spirit?
important. It's really important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's vital, really,
And I think that
because
that's why she's so successful with
I believe it.
manifesting her clients, because she's just an open channel to however God brings her clients, and she doesn't even worry about it.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's true. Well, that first of all, that's the kind of person I always look for to have on the show. So we'll see if we can figure out something there. But
Yes, I didn't even think of that. Yes,
oh my
yes,
God.
she would be amazing. She would be
Yeah.
amazing.
Wouldn't that be
Amazing.
cool? Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Reach out to her, see if she's willing to come on.
Of course.
Yeah. It'd be
I'll do
fun.
that today after the
Okay.
podcast. I'll do
That
it
sounds
today.
good. So, okay. So well, when that happens, that's going to be one episode right there. Okay.
Yeah.
So we got one done. Um, where else can we go with it though? Because I still want to figure out a way. What kind of experiment can we do that's oriented specifically for somebody who's either thinking about being an entrepreneur or is already an entrepreneur and is struggling with one aspect of it or another, and really needs to to build the trust that we were talking about. Needs to build up that undying faith and that huge level of clarity, like you described it.
Well, when
Um,
are we thinking about doing this?
uh, Next time we can, we'll just pick a time.
Well, I was just thinking, why don't we just ask the audience? Just ask them.
Okay.
What would they
Okay.
like to do? What do they think might be useful or helpful to them? They can write into the show. They can email to us, or
Okay.
if they're on live, if you're on live right now, you can put it in the chat,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And let
Yeah.
them decide, or
Okay.
at least play a part in it, right?
Yeah. Well, that's true. I mean, because if you are one of the people that we're going to be reaching with is, you know better than anyone what it is you need.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows better than you, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you're honest with yourself about it, but you know better than anybody else.
Right. So then we know we get it, giving the audience what they want
Yeah,
or what
that's a
they
good
need
point.
anyway. Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. I'm also thinking we can probably adapt, like yesterday's episode, not episode. Well, it was an episode too.
Yeah.
Yesterday's exercise or experiment is basically about attracting. I think the original said any of three things, but we limited it to one thing per person.
Yeah.
That we're trying to attract in 48 hours. Well, why can't we further limit it, apply a limiting belief, and limit it to, well, how about applying attracting something specific to a business?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
if you need financing, you can attract your request is you're going to attract financing. Or
Right.
if you need a mastermind, you're going to attract people to be in your mastermind. Or if you need clients, you're going to attract clients, or whatever
if you
it
need
is.
a business coach.
Or a business coach.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
Attract
Sure.
a new coach.
By the way, that's the easy one. I'm just saying, you know.
There are a lot of coaches out there, but that doesn't mean they're all good.
Well, this is true. That's why people
So maybe they
want to
attract
listen to
the
LOA today.
coach that's just for them, specifically
Well, that's
for what
true.
they need.
Yeah. But I think that's
right?
one of the benefits of listening to LOA today, because we're just loaded with coaches. We've got a lot of good coaches here, you know. So and it's like having, you know, it's almost like having an interview without having to actually sit in front of them, you know, because you just listen in and find out how they think and what they're talking about, what their belief systems are, what their values are. You know, really quick way to get there. So just saying, just a little plug for the show.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that at all. No. Okay, so this is a good start. He was talking about a group though, and I know there are plenty of entrepreneur groups on Facebook, LinkedIn, all that kind of thing. There are plenty of them. I have a feeling he was thinking about something specific that he's looking for, and I don't know what it is. So I guess what I'm saying is, Peter, if you're listening to the episode, and I did invite him to listen to this one, if you're listening to the episode, we especially want to hear from you about what is it you'd like to have.
Yeah, Peter, tell us.
You know, what would you like the group to be like? What would you hope to get out of it? Maybe that's the best way to ask the question. You know, what's it going to do for you? You know, is it going to put money in your pocket? Is it going to put people in front of you? Is it going to bring a manufacturer to you? Is it going to bring a coach to you? What's it going to do? You know, what's the outcome? What's the desired outcome?
Yeah, we need that purpose.
Absolutely. You know, we're going to do the Neville Goddard approach. We're going to say what's the end result, and we're going to work back from the end result.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah, why not? And Neville Goddard was an interesting entrepreneur. There's a story all by itself. So entrepreneurship. What else can we do with entrepreneurship? I really want to turn this into a series, because I can see this being like a new audience to bring in. So
would you want to do it 5 days a week or one time a week?
Not necessarily. Once a week, probably. I don't know.
Or maybe every week you do it with someone different. So, you know, next week you do it with Dan. The next week you do it with me. The next week you do it with whomever on Monday. You know what I mean?
Maybe it involves, you know, reaching out for special guests. Speaking of special guests, finding people who are entrepreneurs who are willing to come talk to us about entrepreneurship. Maybe that's where it comes in.
That could be good. I like that.
I've had some experience in interviewing entrepreneurs. One of my first interviews, I think he was actually I think it was like the fourth show that I ever did, was a guy who made his millions in the precious gems industry. Really? He became a craft jeweler before craft jewelry was a thing. Really? He didn't have a name for it even. But he saw what the jewelers at the time were, you know, doing their settings for necklaces and rings and all kinds of stuff like that. And he said to himself, I can do better than this. And so if I remember correctly, he worked really hard for a couple of years and saved up like $50,000 or something like that, so he could have a stake. And then he opened his doors kind of along the lines of your entrepreneurial friend there, who just had every confidence in the world that people would show up. And people told him he was crazy, but he went ahead with it anyway. And basically created a new industry that became the craft jewelry industry. But
I
he wasn't
love
trying
it.
to create an industry. He just wanted to do better jewelry settings than what they were offering in the jewelry stores.
Right.
So it was all by appointment. You had to get an appointment with him, and then he'd arrange with you what it is that you want done, and then he'd do some design sketches. He'd show you the sketches and all that kind of thing, and just work with you until finally you got what you were looking for. Of course, it was high end. I mean, this is not cheap labor, so this is high end
Right.
clientele. But yeah, he made millions doing this.
I love that. I love that. I
And that was
love
a great
that.
4th episode, let me tell you. I mean, because when I started the podcast, I didn't have any confidence. I didn't barely know the subject even. And here I am trying to do a podcast on it. So to get that guy as an interview, that was a win.
How long ago was this?
That would have been in November of 2012.
Oh, quite a while ago.
Quite a
I
while
wonder if
ago.
he's still in the business.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Hmm.
I don't even remember what his name is. I'd have to go look at the episode to remember what his name was.
Wow.
It's been a while.
He sounds so interesting to me. I love that.
He was so low key. He really was.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah.
Oh, no. I was just saying, you know how I feel about people like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, people who are literally changing the world or doing something completely different. And they're not necessarily, reinventing the wheel, so to speak. But, this guy, the jewelry business has been around probably as long as man has discovered gems, right? Or shiny rocks or whatever. But the
It was
industry
probably
isn't
invented like
new.
2 days after the first date.
Right? But he's just doing his own thing,
Yeah.
And I think things like that is following spirit. I really do.
Oh,
I
yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so fascinated. I wonder, does he believe in the law of attraction? I mean, I know he was on LOA today, but
if I remember correctly, he didn't think of his beliefs in the way that we do in the law of attraction circles, but there was a very strong overlap. He wasn't terribly religious. He didn't have, it wasn't like he had ever firmed it up with concepts and labels and all that kind of thing. But the overlap was strong. He was very sympathetic to what I told him that I knew about law of attraction at the time.
Okay.
To put it that way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But he was a fascinating guy and very relaxed, very open.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah. Fred was his first name. I remember that now. Fred, I can't remember what his last name was. But yeah, really cool guy. So there's an example of how entrepreneurs can be fun interviews. They can be really interesting.
Well, I love all things business and LOA. That's me. I could talk for days. I'm seeing. I won't say I'm seeing someone new. What I'll say is I've met someone. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
Yes, I've met someone, and I'm just waiting, Walt. I'm just waiting for him to say, "Okay, enough with business already, Monique. You talk about anything else other than that and law of attraction, right? Because I'm so passionate about it. But we'll see. I wanted to bring this up yesterday when we were on the podcast, and we were talking about manifesting, right? And maybe just kind of putting it out there and letting it go.
Okay.
So that's what I did at the first of the year. I told God, I said, I'm going to meet my husband this year. I'm not going to marry him. I'm not ready to get married. I got too many things I want to do, right? But I'm going to meet him. And so this guy, this guy is interesting. He knows about the law of attraction. And, I don't mind going there, Walt, because I feel like we're all grown and we all live in the real world. But let me tell you, I don't care how intelligent the man is. I rarely meet Black men who are versed or even knowledgeable in the law of attraction, let alone practice it. So when he said, "Oh yeah, I know who Bob Proctor is. I know who Jack Canfield is.
Okay.
Tony Robbins, he's not law of attraction, but all these personal development people that I follow, right?" And he was like, "I have a vision board. I'd love to show you my vision board sometimes." I was like, "Whoa, wait, what? What?"
Bells going off.
Yes, but I've never even I've never met any men, let alone Black men, but I've never met any men who have vision boards. That's usually, it's all women
You're
that
right. It
I,
often is women, isn't it?
yeah,
I
because
hadn't
we
thought of
have
that, but
vision
you're
board
right.
parties and stuff like that or whatever,
Yeah, that's
right?
very
So,
interesting. Well, that's
yeah,
great, though. This is
I'll keep
exciting.
you posted.
This
Yes,
is
it's
similar,
very
by the
exciting.
way. This
Huh?
reminds me of Louise's story. Before Louise met me,
Uh-huh.
we met in May of 1998.
Okay.
The previous November 1997, her cat of 16 years named Shadow died.
Oh.
And she was very sad. She's actually written a book about it that she's currently editing. But after he died, one of her coworkers asked her, "Are you going to get another cat?" And
Hmm.
without blinking an eye or even thinking about it, she says, "No, I'm going to get a husband."
Oh, okay. Oh, and a year later,
Less than a
you.
year later, 6 months later. Yeah.
Oh, so you guys met or you got married 6 months later? You met
We,
six
we
months
met
later?
6 months later. Yeah.
Oh,
We
okay.
married in
Okay.
September of 1999. So we married almost not quite 2 years later. But yeah, it was a little bit longer than that for that. But it was the same kind of a deal. She intended that she was going to get a husband, and she didn't know
Yeah.
how that was going to happen. But
Yeah. And I'm not even worried about it.
she not only was determined it was going to happen, she took action steps. She started asking. She was a therapist. She was a psychotherapist, and she knew other therapists.
Oh,
So she
yeah.
was talking to her therapy friends. Do you know any available, emotionally healthy men? And she kept asking that question
I like the
over and
second
over.
part,
And yeah,
emotionally healthy.
emotionally healthy. Oh, it was very important to her, right? And she kept
It is
asking
so
people.
important.
She was asking friends, asking family members, coworkers, everybody she could think of. And about 3 or 4 months later, I guess it would have been 4 months later, she asked a friend of hers who's also a mutual friend, a friend of mine, somebody I knew from the swing dance community, because I was very big into
Hmm.
swing dancing. Her name is Debbie,
Hmm.
and Debbie's also a therapist. And she didn't know Debbie really well, which kind of makes sense because Debbie is she's what you might call a new age therapist.
Okay.
If that makes some sense. Okay. So she's very new agey in a lot of her interests, and which Louise was not. Louise was about as far away from new age as you can get, really.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, really.
Okay.
But she knew her and she liked her well enough. So she said, "Do you know anybody?" And Debbie said, "Yes, I do." Now, what's interesting to me about that is that
Hmm.
Debbie knew a lot of guys because this is the swing dance community. This is a community of
Oh,
literally
yeah.
hundreds and hundreds of dancers, right?
Okay.
And of course, I tend to know the women. She would tend to know the men because
Right.
it's generally male, female. These days that has shifted a bit, but at the time it was almost exclusively male dancing with
Oh,
females.
okay.
And as a result of that, I mean, I knew personally probably 100 men that she knew. I mean,
Wow.
just
Okay.
because
Such
so why
a
did she
close
think of me? Is
community.
my question. I don't know why she thought of me. For whatever
Mm.
reason, I'm the one that came to her mind. I'm still not quite sure on that. But anyway, she thought of me. And so she said to Louise, "Yeah, I can think of somebody. You want his phone number?" And Louise says, "Well, why don't you find out if he's interested first?"
Right.
Let's not put the cart ahead of the horse here. So yeah, Debbie reached out to me, and interestingly enough, now Debbie also knew what my most recent history had been with women, and it was not happy. It was not
Oh,
great.
okay. Okay.
She knew the last person I was quasi involved with, and there's a whole reason why I say quasi that I won't get into. But let's just say it was very painful.
Okay.
And after that had very badly ended in this huge crash and burn,
Hmm.
that marked, I think it was 22 straight years of misery for me where non-relationships was concerned. It was
Okay.
like one failed relationship after another.
Hmm.
And there's a whole story that I've told in the past about why that was happening. It was me for sure, but I didn't know at the time, and I had
Right.
no recognition of what to do with it. All I knew was I was sick of it, and so I quit. I said, I'm
Quit
done with
dating?
I'm done with relationships. I'm done with dating. I'm done with trying to meet women. All I do is get heartbreak over and over again. Why do I continue to subject myself to this? This is crazy. I'll just be a
Right.
bachelor for the rest of my life. Screw it. I mean, I don't need this kind of agony.
Right.
So I threw in the towel. And then 2 weeks later, Debbie calls me up and says, "Hey, I got somebody I want you to meet."
And you're like, yeah, right.
I told her that's not happening.
Right. Thanks, but no thanks.
And
Been
she
here,
says,
done
why
that.
not? I said, well, you know what happened with so-and-so. Oh, well, yeah, but you can't let that go. Well, Debbie, I've had 22 years of this. What are you talking about? Not just with her, but like a whole string of them, right?
Right.
But she was a good therapist, and she kind of walked me through and calmed me down and said, you can't just give up, and who knows, maybe this one's actually meant for you. Maybe this is the right one. I said, oh God, please, how many times have I heard that one?
He's like, yeah, right.
But she finally convinced me to give Louise a call, and I said, oh, all right, I'll do it. You're a friend. I'll do it for a friend.
Right.
I called Louise up, and we had a 2-hour conversation. Went really nice.
How interesting. My first
Yeah.
conversation with this gentleman was about 2 hours, and I didn't think that it was going to last that long because
Yeah.
kind of like you,
Yeah.
I've been meeting some guys on a dating app,
Mhm.
and it's the whole, oh my gosh, you're so great, kind of, oh my gosh, you really, the first conversation seems like it, like you really got along and you had stuff in common and you
Mhm.
talked, right? For at least an hour, Walt.
Mhm.
And then it's the, oh yeah, I'm going to call you back later. And they never call you back. Right. So that's what and this was Easter Sunday. So this was just not even a week ago. Right. So it was the whole, oh yeah, I've got plans with my friends for Easter and then I'm going to go fishing in the evening. When I get back, I'll call you. And I'm
Mm.
like,
Yeah. Okay.
sure.
Sure.
Okay. Right. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. And went back to watching Netflix and didn't
Right.
even think
Exactly.
about him again, just completely forgot about the conversation. And he called me at 10 o'clock
Mm.
that night, but it was
Mm.
11 for him. And I'm
Uh-huh.
thinking, first of all, this is pretty late, right?
Mm.
Because I'm still in Texas and
Mhm.
he's in Atlanta in
Mhm.
Georgia. So he's on
Okay.
Eastern Standard Time. And he said, hey, I just wanted to make sure I called you before I went to bed because I didn't want you to lump me in with those other guys who never called you back.
2 points for him. 2 points for him. Okay.
And I'm like, okay, so you called back. I'm not impressed. Okay, great. I'm probably still not going to hear from you ever
You're
again
not
or
easy
whatever.
to impress. That's good.
I'm
That's very
so
good.
not. Okay, I'm so not. I didn't start getting impressed, Walt, until he started talking about, oh, yeah, I know the law of attraction because I'm like, I'm a
Ah.
manifestation and mindset coach. So I know you probably doesn't even know what that is. So
Mhm.
that's okay. I sent him like this YouTube video that I found where somebody was explaining about the law of attraction.
Oh,
And so I
okay.
sent it to him and I said, I know you don't know what I do. So here, this will
Mhm.
explain it to you, right? And then
Okay.
he said, why'd you send me this? I already know about the law of attraction. I have a vision
Ooh.
board. And I was like,
Ooh.
what? All right,
Ooh.
universe. Okay, let's see you. Let's see some
Knock,
potential
knock.
here,
Who's
baby.
there?
Right. And he lets me talk about business. Right.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see. But I'm not getting myself all excited or anything. It's just like, okay, this is
Well, I
cool.
was kind of on the flip side of that same kind of thing with my conversation with Louise, because after I was done, it's like, okay, that was a nice conversation, but this isn't going
Right.
anywhere. And it never
Yeah,
does. So,
exactly.
so I hung up with you. I didn't promise her I'd call back. I just said, okay, well, this is nice talking to you. Maybe we'll talk again sometime. I was
Yeah.
leaving it very open.
Right.
A week later, I knew it was her day. Wednesday was her day to do phone calls. I knew that. Debbie had told me that. And I think
Oh, okay.
Louise had
For her
reiterated as
practice.
well.
Okay.
No, for like family calls and friends calls in the evening.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So these were evening calls. So next Wednesday came along, like, all right. It was a good call. Let's give it a shot. I'm not really enthusiastic about this going anywhere, but I got nothing else
Right.
to do tonight, so I'll give her a call.
I got nothing else to do, so let me just call.
So I called her up. We talked for another 2 hours. Okay, this
Wow.
is good. This is
Yes.
good. I still don't think this is going anywhere, but this is good.
Yes. Kind of like me. Exactly. I don't, we'll see.
I think that time I said I actually would call back the next week, and I did. I called back the next Wednesday, and we talked for another 2 hours. And the thing that kept nailing it down for her was she kept saying over and over again, I can't believe you get my jokes. Nobody ever gets my
Really?
jokes. I get my jokes, but nobody else gets my jokes. You get my jokes.
Why? Does she have a dry sense of humor or something?
Actually, her sense of humor is almost childlike. Very, very clean, simple jokes. Very,
Ah.
what is the slow tomato to the sage of the fast tomato catch up? That kind of a thing.
Oh, that.
Really,
Oh,
really, really, really
gotcha.
simple type humor. And she would say something like that, and I'd
Yeah.
chuckle a little bit, and she'd say, "You get my jokes." So, okay,
Right.
well, that's something, I guess. And after the third call, I still didn't think this was going to go anywhere, but I figured, we've talked 3 times. We should probably meet just to kind of, make it final. Like, this isn't going to work. Okay, we met, we're done. No big deal. We'll just move on. So we agreed to meet at a restaurant. Now, we only lived about 3 miles apart. We actually used to make a joke about it. We both lived up on hills. If we had stood outside on our hills, we could have seen each other and waved. I mean, we really couldn't, but that's what it was like,
Right.
So anyway, we arranged to meet at a restaurant halfway between us, which was a really mediocre restaurant. It was not very good food at all. But it was halfway.
That's something to talk about.
We were planning to actually go there for the food. We were just going to meet,
Yeah.
So we go to meet, and she shows up. I'll never forget this. She shows up. I don't remember what she was wearing, but she had this old beat up straw hat on because she thought it was fun and quirky.
Yes, she does have a different sense of humor.
Now, I thought she just looked like a stupid hick, but she thought it was funny and cute and quirky.
Right.
So it was an inauspicious beginning. And then we sat down, and by the way, I had cued her in. I didn't tell her what my actual exact height was, but I cued her in. I was very tall. And one of the things that she had kind of clinched for me was, I asked her how tall she was. She says, "Well, I'm 5'6" if I stand up straight." I thought that was cute. So I said, "Well, okay, that's still quite a height disparity. That's like 14 inches. That's a lot." But
how tall are you, Walt?
I'm 6'8".
Are you kidding me?
You can close the jaw now.
I had a flashback because I dated a guy 6'8", and the guy that I'm talking to now is 6'5", and my cardinal rule is I don't date men over 6 feet tall. But
okay,
this is your story, not mine. Yes,
we'll go back to your story in a moment.
I did not know you were that tall. Oh my gosh! Okay, great.
Yeah, I am. By the way, that was part of my reason in my own mind why I couldn't get anywhere with women, because they all thought I was too tall.
Too tall.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a side story. So anyway, she was prepared for that, but you can't really be prepared for somebody who's as tall as I am. I have impact just by walking in the room. I can't help it just because of my size. So she was impacted. On top of that, she was feeling kind of shy. I mean, both of us are fairly introverted. She was shy to an extreme that day because we sat down and she wouldn't look at me. She kept looking down at the table. She wouldn't look up. And after a minute or two of that starts to get uncomfortable.
Yeah. Like, am I ugly? Do I have something on my
breath?
My nose?
What is it? I mean,
right.
And I started to lose interest really quick because I'm trying to have a conversation with a straw hat that I didn't even like in the first place. Yeah,
I could see that. Yeah,
didn't work too good. So we ended the get together, and we're standing outside the restaurant, and I'm like totally aware of the line that theoretically I'm supposed to utter. "I'll give you a call." I couldn't say it. I couldn't say it because deep down I knew it wasn't true. I wasn't going to call her.
I'm not going to call you. But I don't want to lie.
This isn't going to work. I can just tell it's not going to work. So, but I don't remember what I said, but we parted on friendly terms and went our separate ways. That same day, Debbie, the one who had introduced us, her birthday and mine are 2 days apart. This was on May 2nd. My birthday is the 4th. I think hers is the 6th or the 2nd. I can't remember which. And there was also a third person whose birthday was like April 30th or something like that. So we all had birthdays within a week of each other. She was having a group birthday party for us that night. So I went to the group birthday party. The first thing she asked me is, "So how did the date go with Louise?"
How's the date going with Louise?
I said, "Oh, well, no, not so good." And I told her what happened. She listened carefully, and then she says, "Well, you're going to give it the 3-date rule, right?" And I said, "The what?" I didn't like the sound of this either.
Like, what's the 3-date rule?
You're going to give it the 3-date rule. Well, the 3-date rule, that's where you give it 3 dates before you decide about somebody.
3 dates.
The 3-date rule. Yeah. I said, "You mean I got to go through 2 more of those?"
And look at this straw hat.
Yeah, right.
Talk to the straw hat.
Once again, she's a good therapist. She talked me through and got me into a better frame of mind. So, okay. I followed up and did another phone call to her. And the second date
Mhm.
worked out much better. We went to see an IMAX movie, and that worked out really well. It was
No
actually
straw
an
hat?
aquarium. No straw hat this time. No,
Oh, okay.
no. So that was good. And third one, she actually came up with the date. She asked me out on the third date. We went rollerblading, which was
Ooh.
pretty odd because neither one of us were any good at rollerblading.
But it was fun
It
nonetheless,
was
right?
fun, yeah. And then it very slowly just kept picking up and picking up and picking up. And about a month later, we
Okay.
realized we're together, and we've been together ever
Hey, I like
since.
you.
Yeah, yeah. What I found about her was she was something that none of my previous relationships had proven to be. She was real.
Ooh.
She was real.
Wow.
She didn't play games. She didn't do any of that stuff that other people would do. Everything that came out of her mouth was true. It was real. She didn't pull punches. I mean, she wasn't
Mm.
unkind, don't get me wrong,
Right, right,
but I could probably the thing that won me over more than anything else, if she wanted a hug, you know what she did? She
right.
threw her arms open. You can't, I don't care how daft you are, you can't miss that message. It's not
Right.
possible.
Hug me.
Yes. And I love that. She was so direct and honest about stuff. And she just grew on me over time.
She grew on me.
She did. It just got better and better. In fact,
Hmm.
about 2 months into it, she actually started to have the second thoughts. I wasn't the one who had the second thoughts. I was still getting used to, okay, is this like for a lifetime, and not quite sure about that. But it was happening in her experience. It was happening too fast, because she had had her own set of bad experiences with relationships. She had relationships
Uh-huh.
that lasted a lot longer than my 2-week relationships, but
Right.
they hadn't played out very nicely. So she had her
Oh.
own stuff going on, and this was going so well continuously all the time. So she got on the phone with her friend Leona, and Leona said, well, what's wrong with him? She says, well,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with him. Well, I mean, like, what's holding you back? Well, he's so tall. How are we going to fit together? Leona says, if that's the only thing in the way, you got to
Right.
get that out of there. That
Right.
just drop that issue entirely. So she
Exactly.
called me back, and we got back together, and we've been together ever since. Yeah. But all
Oh, that's so nice.
I'll tell you, it would not have happened if I hadn't quit relationships. Because think
Okay.
about it, I had all this really, really bad voodoo going in my head about
Right.
relationships.
Right.
I had to let go of it. I didn't know anything about letting go. I didn't even know the concept existed. It
Hmm.
had never occurred to me. All I knew was I couldn't do this anymore. And so I did the one best thing I could have done. I let go by just giving up on the whole idea of relationships.
That's making me think of something.
What's that?
So I already said that, at the first of the year, I made the intention, like Louise,
Hmm.
hey, I'm gonna meet my husband, manifest my husband. We're not
Right?
doesn't mean we're gonna get married, right? But I'm gonna meet him, right? And I
Hmm.
said I just want us to be friends.
Yeah.
You know what I forgot about?
What?
My ex-boyfriend of 5 years, Walt, found me on Instagram and reached out to me.
Oh,
Now, I know you're probably saying, well, what's the big deal with that? But it's starting. Sometimes what happens, and I don't think people pick up on this when you're manifesting stuff.
yeah.
Sometimes the universe, God, source energy, infinite intelligence, whatever, right? Sometimes I found, and I think we talked about this yesterday, how you'll get little stuff leading up to the thing that
True.
you are manifesting, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't even think about it because when Eric reached out to me, my ex, when he reached out to me on Instagram, you saw the look on my face when my mouth was like wide open a few minutes ago.
Right. Right.
I literally staring at my phone like for 5 minutes with my. I was like, this looks like him, but this can't be him, right? I mean, I'm 50. That makes it. Well, let me tell you why. Because Eric is 5 years older than me, right?
Uh-huh.
I like to think for 50, I'm pretty hip because my daughter's 25. So she keeps me up on the culture, right? What's
Sure.
going
Yeah.
on
Why
in the
not?
world.
Yeah.
So, but Eric is not like that.
Uh-huh.
So 5 years ago, he wasn't even on social media. And I asked him, I said, how did you find me? You know what he
Okay.
said? He flat out lied. He said, "Oh, you reached out to me on Instagram. It was an old message, and I just said, why not?" That's not what happened. Okay, that's not. But I just let him go with that lie, Walt. My point
You're
being
very
is
generous. I just have to say, you're very generous. But go ahead.
because it doesn't even matter, right? It
Yeah, I
doesn't
guess.
even
Yeah.
matter. But we ended up talking maybe briefly for about 10 minutes. We exchanged phone numbers or whatnot, right? And
Hmm.
my phone number has changed, right? Because I have a Florida number now. I no longer have an Atlanta or a Georgia
Sure.
number.
Right.
So we exchanged phone numbers. His number is still the same. I didn't even remember his, like, I blocked him from my phone
Yes. Got
after
it.
we broke up.
Right.
And so we talked. And when we talked, then he goes into the story. Oh, I've been in this tumultuous relationship for the last 3 or 4 years. She's lived with me. I had to get the sheriff to put her out, and I got a
Mm.
restraining order against her, and all of this stuff, right? And I'm thinking, how interesting. 5 years later, I'm the person that he reaches out to. We had a pretty good relationship, to be honest with you. I'm the one who broke it off.
Hmm.
But just thinking about what's the universe up to and why is Eric or why is he trying to come back? What is that about? And now we've
Well, I
got
might be able to answer
Adrian.
the second part. I don't. I can't answer the first part necessarily, but I can answer the second part perhaps.
Oh, please do.
He just went
Enlighten
through.
me.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. He just went through this really tumultuous relationship. He doesn't want to go
Yeah.
through any tumultuous relationships before. He wants to have a good relationship. He had a good relationship with you. Let's get in touch with Monique. That's where the good relationship is. I'm sure that's what the thought process was.
Now that makes sense
Yeah.
because at the time when we were dating, he had a cleaning business. And Walt, I tell you, right off the top, I mean, maybe the second week of knowing him, one of his cleaning jobs was maybe 15 minutes away from where I live.
Hmm.
After the second week, I literally started cleaning the buildings with him,
Oh,
right?
geez. My God.
Yeah. Yeah. And then maybe a month in, I started talking about, hey, if this relationship is going to go somewhere, we need to start thinking about how we can hire other people for this cleaning business so that we don't have to
Ah,
be the ones to do it anymore, right?
yeah.
My
Right.
mind automatically started going towards business. So we had a really good relationship. So I guess you're right. And I
Yeah.
know that's probably obvious to you, right? To think, well,
You're
duh.
right. Yeah. It's easier when you're on the outside looking in than when you're in the middle of it. There's
And I
no
think
doubt about that.
because I don't ever think about going back to any boyfriends, and that's 5 years
Yeah.
ago. This
Yeah.
month,
Right.
literally 5 years ago. This month. Wow, it's crazy.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
yeah, well,
Hmm.
thanks. Well, thanks
You're welcome.
for
Yeah.
enlightening me because I
I
was
think you're
kind
right,
of
though. I think you're right. That source, God, spirit, whatever you want to call it,
right.
we keep sending stuff to us. When we
Yeah.
ask for something, we don't just get one.
And we talked about that too, didn't we?
Right.
We talked
We
about
did.
that, how it's multiple things,
Yeah. It's
right?
not like one and done. Oh, you got yours. Okay, enough. That's not the answer. That's not the answer the universe gives you. The answer is,
Right.
okay, here's one. Not you don't like that one. Here's another one. You don't like that one. Here's another one. I'll keep sending them until you say stop.
Right. So this should be
Yeah.
interesting, but I kind of like the parallel between you and Louise with me and this new guy, right?
Mm.
Because right off the top, that's kind of something he said. It's like, wow, Monique, you're not like the rest of them. Like you actually wanted to have a conversation. So we met on the dating app, but after
Mm.
2 or 3 sentences back and forth, I was like, hey, can we just have a conversation? And he
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you wanted to talk instead of just, stay on the app and text or whatever. And
That's a
then we
big
talked about
deal.
that. Yeah.
That's a really big deal. I think that's kind of gotten lost in the age of social media and dating
It
apps and all
definitely
that.
has. It
Yeah,
definitely has.
it's really
Yeah.
important. How can you really know somebody unless you talk with them?
I don't know, right? That doesn't make
Is this
sense
a
to me.
riddle?
But you know what, Walt? I think it's because you and I and people our age, we grew up when that was the primary form of
True.
communication, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It was a big deal when you even got an answering service, to take the call. Because before that, if you weren't home, then you just wasn't home and then you just called back, right?
Yeah.
But nowadays, when my daughter says, "Oh, mom, I talked to so and so," she doesn't literally mean talk. She literally means, oh, they reached out to me on Instagram or
Right.
Snapchat or TikTok or something like that. And that's talking to her. And I'm like, no, that's a text message. That's not talking. Because there's so much that gets lost in
It's
translation. You know
true.
what I mean? Or it
Yeah.
can. So
No, you're
yeah,
right. You're
but
absolutely right. You got me thinking
I'll
about
keep
old answering machines too, the old tape machines. Right?
yeah.
This is Paul. You can leave a message at the tone.
And then you had to actually press the button and rewind it back. Oh my gosh, we're old. Oh, sorry for any of you newbies who are watching, you youngsters who are watching. Yes, we're old, right?
I don't know if I've told you this before, but one of the most interesting and fun things you can do with somebody who's under 30, maybe under 25, is to put an old style dial telephone in front of them and ask them how to use it.
Yes, yes. My daughter was fascinated that we actually used to have phones on the wall. And you
Yeah,
used to have
right.
the super long cord so
That's
you could
right.
go
Yeah.
down the hall and talk or whatever to get a little bit of privacy because it's stuck on the wall right there. Oh my gosh, she just thinks that that's so funny.
But it's funny watching a kid try to figure out what you do with the dial. What's that for? They look at it, they put a finger in the hole, they push the buttons on top, and none of it makes any sense.
Right. She was like, "What do you mean you had to pay for a long distance call?" I was like,
Right.
yeah. And after 9, it was much cheaper.
That's
Okay.
right. That's right. Yeah. Well, actually, maybe that was your service, and with my service, it was after 11. It was much cheaper. I mean, you had to call really, really late.
Now you might be right because my cousin lived in California. So me waiting until the nighttime to call her was actually good because she was 3 hours behind me. So you might be right. You might be right. Oh my gosh.
It was copper wires. It wasn't fiber optic. So it was, are you there? Hello? Anybody there?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm sorry. We're supposed to be talking about the law of attraction, but this is just, oh my gosh. I don't know how we got out on a tangent, but yeah.
Because I went there. That's how we got there.
Oh my God.
It's on me. I did it. It's all me.
Such good memories.
Ugh.
And it's interesting. I'm watching this Netflix show, Mindhunter, and it's set in this early 70s. And so the background to the music is like old school Eagles and Led Zeppelin and all the stuff that I remember listening to, right? But we're at a point where they're actually talking about, oh, you can't say this or you can't say that, or, that kind of stuff. And I tend to forget because it's so much freedom of speech nowadays. You hear any and everything, not only on the radio, but just across social media. And you're just talking about, oh, you can't say deviant. Oh, you can't say mutilation. And I was like, what?
I don't remember that, but I'll take your word for it. Deviant.
Yeah.
You can't say deviant. I didn't know that one. Okay. I knew there were the 7 swear words you couldn't say, but I didn't know about deviant. That's different.
This is the FBI, and this show is about when they really started to realize that people could be serial killers. So that's that's what this department is. They are the department in the FBI who came up with the term serial killer, and they started, so they're talking to all these serial killers, and of course they're using vulgar language.
Well, that makes sense. Okay, now it makes, when you have the context.
Yeah, but the department is like, you can't say a P word. You can't say, swear words. You can't say this. You get mutilation. You can't call them pedophile. You can't say that. I was like, what? But I forgot. This is the early 70s. I think it's like 1974 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's crazy. It was around the time of Charles Manson and that whole thing. So.
Right. Yeah, I remember that too.
Very, very interesting how much the world has changed.
Well, people think that political correctness is a recent phenomenon. They don't realize it's been around for quite some time. It just kind of morphed over time in different ways, but the concept has been around for a long time. Yeah.
I listen to some of the rap music or hip hop music that my daughter listens to, right? And I can remember back in the late 90s, maybe mid well, the 90s. I'll just say the 90s
Mm-hmm.
when the rap group NWA came
Mm.
out, and I can still remember that the police would actually go on stage for them cursing on stage in their
Really? I
rap
wasn't aware of
lyrics,
that.
right?
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, it was a whole
Yeah.
big thing. Congress was like trying to ban, censor them, and everything. We've come
Really?
such a yes, such a
Wow. Where
long
the hell
way.
was I? I wasn't aware of that.
We're
I must have been
clearly
on
born in
vacation
South
or
Central
something.
California.
Well, maybe that's
So
it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Of course,
times
it's
have
quite
definitely changed.
knowing me around that time period. That was toward the end of my time period where I basically withdrawn from society. So it's quite possible I just missed it because I
Oh,
missed everything else. I mean, honestly, when the Berlin Wall came down, I didn't know it. I found out a year later.
seriously?
Seriously, because I had gone through a phase when I just refused to pay attention at all to the news. I wasn't watching news on TV. I wasn't reading newspapers. I wasn't reading magazines. I wasn't listening to the
Wow.
radio. I just shut the whole thing off. And it was about a 3 or
Wow.
4 year period. And so one day I'm in conversation with somebody and they said, what happened around the time the wall came down? I said, what wall?
You said what wall? The Chinese wall?
The Chinese
The
wall,
Great
yeah.
Wall of China?
No, the communist wall, the Soviet Union. What?
When did that happen? And then they said, have you been living under a rock? Like literally?
Don't you know, like Boris Yeltsin? Haven't you heard it? Who's Boris Yeltsin? I don't know who that is.
You definitely were
I
withdrawn.
really did shut it out. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I didn't do it because I knew that it was important to shut out the news. I just shut it out because I couldn't take it anymore.
The world was going to hell in handbaskets.
Oh God, I just turned the world off. I couldn't take it. It was just too much. So yeah,
Wow.
it set me up a good stead later on when I found out it was actually a good idea to turn the news off.
Well, I don't really know much that's going on unless it comes across my Facebook news feed or my Google news feed because I don't watch
Google News
either.
for about 60 seconds a day. That's my news. And I scan the
Yeah,
headlines.
me
Okay,
too.
I'm done. That's it. Goodbye.
Yeah, me too.
It's probably more than I can actually handle, but that's good. At least I limit myself to 60 seconds. I can digest that.
You're right.
Without too much stomach upset. But
Yeah.
well, we've covered quite a range here. I mean, we started
Yeah,
off with
yeah.
entrepreneurs, and we have some ideas we got to follow up on there. And then we got to this whole relationship thing, which was really cool. But that's
yeah.
Okay.
And somehow ended up in the 70s.
Yeah, I don't quite figure that one out either. How did we do that?
I think I talked about the show. It was just interesting.
Oh, that's right. You brought the show you've been watching on Netflix. That's what it was.
Yeah, the censorship of it all.
But this has been good. Hey, one thing I've been kind of neglecting lately, I want to give people a way to reach out to Monique. Now, we do have you in the LOA Today app, so people can reach you that way. But if they want to reach you directly, maybe they are looking for a coach. Maybe they are actually coaches themselves. They're looking for a coach. How do they reach out to Monique Scott?
Oh, yeah, they can find me on Instagram. They can find me there at America's, with an S, America's _ favorite coach. Just shoot me a DM.
Very nice. All right. That makes it really easy. Take advantage of that app, by the way, to send in your own questions and so forth, especially what we talked about earlier about if you're an entrepreneur or you thought about being an entrepreneur. Send in those questions. Send in your ideas about what you'd like to have for an audience interactive approach to entrepreneurship. Be a part of this conversation. Because if you don't do it, hey, it's probably going to fall by the wayside. So we need your input. Okay.
Yes, we do.
Kicking you in the backside saying, come on, let's do this.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for sitting in for Dan and for Alex.
We missed them. Missed you, Alex and Dan.
Yeah. Well, Dan will be back next week, and Alex hopefully will be done with the wedding planner. I don't know when that's going to happen.
Yes, and congratulations, Alex.
Yeah. And Kenny seems.
I'm next.
Yeah, well, you said yourself you need a little time first, right?
Yeah, next, but not like next month or anything.
Okay, well, we'll get the report next time. So thank you very much, Monique. Thank you especially to our podcast listeners, and we will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
The outro. I know it's here.